Today we're going to make things pop with 3 easy DIY ideas to create pop-up cards. No special tools required. So I'm going to start with one of the simplest ways to create a pop-up inside your card, and that's to add an insert within your card. I've got 2 pieces of cardstock here, a base layer which is 110 pound Neenah, and then a second layer. This is going to be my insert. It's a lighter weight cardstock. It's 80 pounds, but you can use whatever you have on hand. I'm making a landscape card, so I've scored it at 5.5 inches. The finished size is 4.25 by 5.5. And the thinner layer of cardstock, or the insert layer, goes within the card base. Now you may notice when you put these together inside each other, there is a little overlap, so I just cut that off with my paper trimmer. You can use scissors if you don't have a paper trimmer. And now I'm working on the insert layer here, so the lighter weight cardstock, and I want to create a tab within the cardstock. And I have an image that I've already prepared. This is a vase with a flower in it, and I had made sure that it would fit within the card base here. The thing to be aware of is when you are cutting your tab, it's going to have enough area to adhere your image to, but when you fold it over, the image isn't going to pop out the sides. So I did make my life a little bit hard here because I've chosen such a large image, but it really gives that wow factor. And this is actually going to be a Mother's Day card, so I think mothers deserve a big flower. So I have cut just about 1 inch with my paper trimmer on the folded edge, and now I'm going to score where those cut lines finish. It doesn't really matter about the width or the length of your cut or where you're doing the score lines. If you don't have a scoring tool, then you can simply just fold your cardstock and press it down with your fingertips. The size of the tab that you're creating here doesn't matter, as long as it is large enough to attach your image to and still keep it within the boundary of the card when it folds over. You can actually add this tab anywhere within this insert layer. You can actually cut a tab within the center of it and then pop a butterfly up. There are so many options. The next step is to add glue to adhere it within your card base. The only place you don't want to add glue to is the tab itself that you've created, and you can use any glue that you have. I'm just using double-sided adhesive tape here. A liquid glue would work well as well. You have probably got a little bit more wriggle time when it comes to liquid glue if you're not confident to line things up correctly first time. My next step is to connect the 2 pieces together, and basically I'm just adhering the insert within the card base and lining up to the center of the card where it's going to fold. It's as simple as that. I have actually left my tab folded in place just so I don't accidentally get any glue on there, and the pop-up feature is created. It really is as simple as that. To attach my image, I am using liquid glue. You do want to use something that's going to have a nice strong hold, and I just took my time to sort of make sure it was going to be fairly straight and sit along the base of the card when it folded closed. And of course you get to decorate the front however you choose. I decided to add some design paper as well as a second large flower and a die cut, which I just coordinated the colors of cardstock. And one of the best things about this technique, and I've done this before, is you can actually add a colored cardstock on the inside, so you can have that real wow factor when you open up your card. I'm a little bit of a clean and simple girl, and I do like my white space, but imagine if you had a really like a pale pink in the background here, or a pop of pale blue. That would look lovely as well. So we're on to the second card now and the second technique, and we're going to be creating an ocean today. You'll see what I mean very soon. This is a very similar way to add a pop-up to the card, but you don't have to actually add the insert layer. So what I've got here are 2 strips of cardstock cut to the width that I know is going to actually be able to hold the image when it pops up within the card, and you'll see what I mean with that shortly as well. But I want to create a square, and I'm doing that by scoring every 1/2 inch 5 times, and the 5th score line just tells me where to cut it off. That way, when I fold these strips of cardstock, I'm going to be able to join that last piece together with some liquid glue and create a square. Now these are going to work like the tab did that I cut within the insert cardstock on the first card that we created, but this time you've got so many more options. Instead of just adding it to one side of the card, we're going to be able to add a couple of images. You're going to be able to make these any size to fit the image that you want to add to your design. Now I said you don't need an insert for this card, but I decided that I wanted the inside to be blue because I'm creating my ocean. And I could have cut my cardstock from this blue cardstock, except that the pieces aren't big enough. So I would have actually created a blue base if I had had a large enough piece. And this is what I mean when I say you can actually adapt it to suit whatever image you want. I've coloured up a whale and a little girl, and I want them to both pop up. So you can see that the larger pop-up one is where I'm going to sit the whale, and the smaller one is for the girl. I do need to join them together so that they pop up at the same time. Now, if you only wanted one thing to pop up, like I did on the first card, then you would just adhere your square to the left-hand side of the card itself, as well as the base. But because I want to, I'm actually adhering both of my squares to the base of my card design and centering the line where the fold is. And then I can just use my liquid glue to attach my images. And I did sort of just hold them in place and test it out before I committed. And the good thing with glue is, like I said, you have got that little bit of wriggle room. And you can decorate however you desire. I really had fun with this set. It's a really pretty set. And it's not something normally that I'd pop up, a whale shark. But why not? I wanted to show you that you can literally play with this technique and use whatever you have on hand. And of course I did decorate the front of the card as well. And luckily whale sharks have really small teeth and are filter feeders. That's what I can say for this young fella. Now, one thing to note is that you do need to do a lot of your stamping and prep work before you add your pop-up designs. If you wanted to stamp something on the front of this card, now it would be difficult to do. So if you're thinking ahead, that's one of my pro tips for creating pop-up cards. All right, so I'm on to my final technique and one of my new favorite ways to create pop-up cards. This actually pops up the whole card. Yes, seriously, it does. I'm creating a shadow box card. You don't need any special equipment to do this. And I have 2 pieces of cardstock. These are 110 pound Nina. I did choose some heavyweight cardstock because I want these to be quite sturdy. And they are cut 6 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I've scored them at a 1/2 inch and 1 inch on each side. I'm just folding each of those score lines now to create my pop-up feature. I'm using my bone folder here to get a nice crisp edge, but if you don't have one of those, you could just use a ruler or your thumbnail would work just as well. And basically these get joined together and you have a serious pop-up card. The final size of this design is an A2 card. Seriously, it fits in a regular envelope. Now I do need to create a window in the front panel so that we can see through to the pop-up feature, and you can decorate this however you like. You can use whatever shape window that you want and whatever cardstock and images that you like as well. I would recommend using a stronghold tape or liquid glue to attach the edges together. I've got a 1/2 inch roll of tape here which worked perfectly. Then you can just adhere your images however you like. I decided to create a bonus pop-up feature here today, which I was inspired by Jennifer McGuire, and I will link her video in the description below as well as my blog post. I've already made some shadow box cards recently and I'm kind of a little bit addicted to them. So I thought I'd just share it here at YouTube and show you how easy they are to make. When you are attaching things to the very front of your card design, just be careful not to get the glue on the inside, otherwise it will attach to the base of the card and you won't be able to pop it open. So just make sure you check where the glue or the foam dots may be. And here's the bonus pop-up technique. I have a strip of acetate here that I've added some more score tape to. I've worked out that I want to pop this butterfly up, and just exactly where I want it to finish, I've made a couple of tick marks on the acetate and on the card base itself. So then I can just adhere the butterfly to the actual acetate, and I already know where I want it to sit, so I can just remove the score tape off the edge of the card base and actually attach the acetate directly onto there. I can snip away the excess acetate with my scissors and attach the front of the card to the base. Now, if you do want to do any stamping, I would highly recommend stamping way before this. I decided to add a sentiment after I knew I wasn't going to be stamping on these particular panels, but it is not going to be easy to add a sentiment right now unless you're going to use a die cut or a cutout sentiment, which is what I did. And I'm going to share all of the cards now and show you how the pop-up functions work, starting with this butterfly card. How cool is that? It just makes me happy. And look at the dimension in this card. So this is the first card I made with the insert tab, very easy to create, and my whale of a design with the tabs that I created myself just with some cardstock. So these DIY ideas for creating pop-up cards are literally just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many more techniques that I can share with you. Please let me know in the comments below whether you'd like to see more videos like this, and if you enjoyed today's cards, it'd be lovely if you clicked on the thumbs up button to let me know that you did, and tell me which one's your favorite. I have a couple more videos here to share with you with some interactive pop-up designs, and I look forward to seeing you there. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.